My brother Johnny found this strange gear in a scrapyard. It was obviously a part from an old tractor, and he challenged me once again. Could I turn it into something truly impressive? I accepted the challenge immediately. First, I welded a long steel rod onto the gear to use as a handle while forging. Then I fired up my charcoal forge and heated the steel until it was glowing red. The metal was incredibly thick and hard, so I spent the entire day hammering it by hand to flatten it. I do all my forging by hand. No hydraulic press, no power hammer. By the end of the day, I had forged it down to about 5 millimeters thick. Next, I drew the outline of my knife directly onto the steel and began cutting it out with nothing but an angle grinder. Since the steel was so tough, even cutting out the profile took quite a while. After that, I refined the outline with the angle grinder. Before grinding the bevels, I needed to thin and level both sides of the blade. I decided to do this rough work with the angle grinder as well because I thought it would be faster. In fact, my goal for this entire project was to build the knife almost entirely using only an angle grinder without expensive machines. Once both sides were flat, I marked my guidelines and started grinding the bevels. This part also took several hours, but in the end the bevels came out perfectly straight, almost as if they had been ground on a belt grinder. I also added a decorative groove along the blade to make the design even more attractive. Some small details were refined by hand, with a file to sharpen the overall shape. Next, I sanded the entire blade to 150 grit, and everything was ready for heat treatment. Because this type of steel can be quite brittle, I decided to harden only the cutting edge while keeping the spine slightly softer. To achieve that, I wrapped the blade with wire. Then I mixed clay with finely ground charcoal and applied a thick layer over the spine. This allows the cutting edge to heat and cool much faster than the upper part of the blade. I heated the blade to approximately 800 degrees Celsius and quickly quenched it in oil. Afterward, I removed the wire and clay and started sanding again. This sanding process took the entire day because I worked from 150 grit all the way up to 2000 grit. Next, I prepared thin brass and aluminum spacers. I drilled holes through them and carefully enlarged the openings with a hand file. Then I took a block of walnut wood, cut it to size, and drilled it as well. I assembled everything with epoxy and let it cure for 24 hours. The next day, I began shaping the handle. Staying true to the challenge, I shaped almost the entire handle using only the angle grinder. Then I refined the contours with a wood rasp and smoothed the surface using a rotary tool. Finally, I hand sanded the handle to 220 grit and applied a special protective oil to protect the wood from moisture. I sharpened the blade to 4000 grit, and this is the final result, a kukri knife that I'm genuinely proud of. If you think I won this challenge, don't forget to subscribe to the channel.